All right, recording has started, folks. So this meeting is being recorded, and by continuing to be in this meeting, you're all consenting to be recorded. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Module 2 webinar. So first things first, I won't go through this slide any at all. I think this has been a wonderful class, and we are a small crowd here, so I don't think we need to go through any of the etiquettes here, except for the fact that letting you know that we'll still try to get this done within an hour. And if folks are interested in hearing about ChatGPT, which was one of the things that got little discussed and was requested, we'll kind of go over like a 15-20 minutes, but I will end this session completely and then go to ChatGPT. So if anyone wants to leave after we are done what I want to cover for module 2, please feel free. I don't want you to be forced to sit here and be here for that. But it's going to be a wonderful session. I'm telling you, it's ChatGPT. I'm sure you guys all heard about it, and it's all going on, or maybe just heard about, or you don't know what the buzz is. We'll talk about that. Okay. All right. So the agenda for today mainly will focus and talk about big data management. And then we'll talk about assignment 2, which is very important, the very first assignment in AWS. And then we'll go around and see if you have any questions. And as always, feel free to ask questions in between. Don't hesitate to stop me. You can go off mute. You can come on video if you'd like and ask questions, up to you, okay? So no restrictions whatsoever. So just a little retrospective before we get into the thick of things here and deeper into our session today. So just wanted to let you guys know, you guys all submitted quality and timely deliverable towards assignment 1. Very good quality, very well done. And some of you took it to heart, and you just went on with the technical option, and with the 1A. Most of you guys, chose 1A. A couple of you guys chose 1B, and that's fine too, but all good papers as well. So, I think, but I would still be open to your thoughts on this assignment. Is there any feedback for me or Yelena on this assignment? Did you guys, suffered a lot or went through a lot, or was it very easy? Anything that you may have in mind, you could just throw it out. No feedback? Come on, I know for a fact, you guys are not this quiet. I can see Akoi could be quiet because of her, cold, but Erin and Tori, you guys have any feedback on assignment 1?
I thought the assignment was good. I think it was sort of just the right level of difficulty, and gave us and I did the 1A, the walkthrough. I was embarrassed that I didn't read the instructions closely enough to see that I needed to put my answers in the separate answer sheet.
That's okay.
So I fixed that, but I'll do better.
That's fine. But I hope you were able to appreciate just, I know you did not, I did not let you get into this rabbit hole of kind of installing Hadoop and dealing with that and configuring it and taking a lot of your, machine resources and all of that. I didn't want to kind of get into that. That's the reason we had to kind of look for the option where you can get on and do something real quick. So I hope from that perspective, you'd appreciate that whatever you were doing it on a Hadoop cluster, right? And sometimes you'd be like, really, is that what this Hadoop is? And so, and if that has been in your mind, then let me tell you, yes, that is Hadoop, right? It's not rocket science. It's not something that you cannot really handle. You can certainly handle, and it's just like, being on a Linux machine, if you have been in the past, or maybe just a little away from your Windows to doing something in the Linux environment. But okay, thanks, Tori, for sharing that. Anyone, Erin or Okui, you guys have any feedback?
The assignment was fine. I like when it takes you through it, like step by step, kind of guides you through the process, because otherwise it can get kind of overwhelming when everything's so new. So I appreciate kind of being guided through, especially at the beginning of a class.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for the feedback. Okay, so I'm glad that the instructions helped, and didn't want to put in too much of instructions and let you kind of write, but I know this is the first time, so we would want to do that. You've done the same for your second assignment as well, but at any point in time, I'll be open for your feedback. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Some of you have not accessed and logged into AWS Academy log. So if you have not received the email or not been able to do that, please go ahead and do it. If you are still someone who's not received, which I don't think, I believe you guys, all you guys here have logged in and been part of the AWS Academy. But if not, and if I'm missing that, then, and if you have not received the invitation as well, let me know. Please work with me right away. I want to get it fixed because your assignment is going to be in that environment. So we have to fix that, okay? So I've seen that if you had a Gmail account especially, or Yahoo, I'm not too sure, but a Gmail, I don't know why you guys had some issues with that and did not get it. But then once we changed that to your UMGC email address, then we were able to fix it for a couple of your classmates. And there were a couple who had Hotmail and they were okay as well, okay? So we can certainly work that out. So folks watching, the recording, just keep in mind, bear in mind, if you are someone who is still not accessed or able to access it, then, please take a note of this and work with me right away. And yeah, of course, as always, take advantage of these webinars. I love, being here, and I love seeing you here, which gives me an opportunity to see how I want to kind of share this information that I have, for each of those modules, get to know your questions, get to know you better. And so, yeah, and if there are questions on our deliverables, especially while you're working on your assignments, we can get it done here. Okay, so take advantage of that. So discussions, I really don't have much to say, but except for the fact that discussion 2, you guys did an awesome job. I've not completed the grading yet. You'll see that complete pretty soon. But I think, most of you, or kind of almost all, have done an excellent job. I think you got engaged. I think you really took it to heart. Some of the feedback that I verbally shared with you. And you kind of came up with some very good postings. You engaged with each other. You asked questions to each other, which was nice. So keep up with that. Okay. Alrighty. So you went through a lot of material last week. I know there were many, articles, videos, whatsoever, but yeah, you kind of went into a lot of learning about, databases and NoSQL and CAP theorem and all of the asset properties and all of that, right? So so let's take a step back and see what we've kind of gone through. But there are always going to be things that you will hear, or this could be your chance to even validate these statements. And once again, not putting you on the spot in any way, but this is just to enhance our learning, right? So let's go each of these statements one by one. So if you hear, or if you have to just read this sentence, just increase the size of your database to include more data. That is how easily you can manage big data. What do you guys think? What are your comments on this statement? Do you guys agree, disagree, or don't know? Or not sure?
I don't agree. I mean, if it was that simple, then that's what we would pursue that.
Yes. Sometimes it is, sometimes it is not, because yeah, if it was the same type of data and you had like probably a database that would take in like 100 gig or 1 terabyte or whatever, or petabyte, and you'd want to increase, and all of a sudden you have a little more data than you need. Yes, maybe increasing that may help, but but if there's going to be different types of data, or maybe even you don't know what is going to be the case, and it's going to be much more, then yeah, just increasing would not really help. So once again, it depends on, and maybe there may not be a straight yes or no answer here, but yeah, to your point there, it is sometimes it's not as simple as just increasing the size. Next one, RDBMS cannot handle or manage big data. You need other emerging database types. What do you guys think about this statement? Erin, do you want to take a step at this? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think that's true, because that's like all the not only SQL databases that are coming out to handle all the different types of data and different things that are out there.
So, so your take on this is that it cannot handle or manage big data?
Yeah, I think that's true, because yeah, that's the uses for all the other types of databases.
Right. Okay. Tori or Akui, do you guys agree with Erin, or you have anything else, anything different to say?
No, I agree with that.
Okay.
That's all. Yeah, I was about to say.
Okay. Okay.
It cannot handle the big data.
Yeah. Once again, when you say it cannot handle, I just want us to kind of think about this a little more, because it is quite likely that the data that you may have, lots of data, it could be very structured data, and you may want to embed or have acid properties, right? And we'll talk about that briefly in another few slides, acid properties, right? In case you're wondering what or not really sure of what acid properties are, but we'll kind of go over that again. But the main thing is, like, yeah, if you know it's highly structured data, you are having resources that know SQL very well. You know that maybe an extending the database size can do the trick for you, and all of that, then maybe RDBMS can be able to manage your type of big data, right? It may not be like, yeah, when it comes to unstructured and you have lots of other types of data going on, then maybe not, right? So once again, your big data is about, you have to think in all those things that we have talked about in the previous module or webinar, of what a big data is. But once again, if something that you can still put a good structure to it, and there's going to be a method to madness where RDBMS can really still work for you, maybe it can be the type of database that you may want to go with. The last one here, data lakes or data warehouses are the two sides of the same coin. Same thing, but different names. Akui, what do we think about this?
I can say that they are not the same thing. I mean, they do the same thing, but for different type of data.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, for
It's
different
not
type
the
of
same
data.
thing. Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. It's not the same thing. While one could be used for, and you guys have done a wonderful job. You did such a fantastic job discussing this in the discussions, and I hope you guys have been tracking or following others' comments or postings as well on this topic. Well, yeah, it is like data lakes have I think they're there for a reason. Data warehouses are also, which is used a lot for business intelligence, because it brings in all the data in a structured fashion. It has some of the historical data that you may need. And yeah, I mean, so it has its own uses, it has its own advantages, it has its own disadvantages, right? Let's put it this way. So just going back to the face value of this statement, well, on face value, they are not same, right? So very good. Okay, excellent. So moving along, I like this infographic, and I know you probably may not be legible on your screen, so I'm going to just break this down here, but I have the source for this infographic, which I really loved looking at this one. It showed the evolution of databases from the very beginning of time, especially when the database came into being. And I really loved it, that I thought I would share with you all. So like if you see here how the databases evolved, right? It started in 1960s when you had the network model database or the hierarchical model database, and there was some structure to the data, and the way data was stored, and so we kind of used that type of databases that came into play, and rose more is still in very academic research form, and used in universities and research areas and things of that nature, not that commercially available, or not that commercial at that point in time. There were not many commercial databases, right? 70s also, like, when it came from 1960s to 70s, the actual relational database started to grow, right? At that point, A.F. Cord write a nice paper on the relational database model, which was widely accepted. And you saw the emergence of the very first RDBMS that time. You saw the emergence of System R by IBM, which had the SQL and SQL also came into being at that time, structured query language, and it was used by the IBM database. And then there was a very similar language quell that was used for the English database. It happened in 1970s. 1980s saw the emergence of commercially available databases, like Oracle came into being. And there were some niche databases as well, used for some very niche purposes, some very unique purposes, like entity relational databases or object-oriented databases, or distributed. I think distributed came in a little later, but entity relational or object-oriented, you saw much of that, although they were very, very small set of these two type of databases. But we saw the biggest emergence of the relational databases. You saw databases like DB2, Sybase, Informix, Oracle, all that kind of came into play. And then companies started to embrace relational database management systems. They started to make use of RDBMSs. And there were many PC manufacturers of operating systems, or people that developed operating systems. They would start, kind of adding perks, like in the sense of like throwing in databases. Like there was this operating system called Unify at that point, which Unix operating system. There were some vendors that started to add the RDBMS package called Unify. So every license or version of Unix that were given out by certain vendors would come in with this relational database management system, Unify. And the reason I know it, because my college project was based on Unify. That was the first time I ever worked with a relational database management system and came to know what a relational database management system is. So it all started in the 80s, and there were companies being really and encouraged to make use of the databases. Then in 1990s, we started to see some technology shifts, right? That was the time that internet came into play. That was the time that data started to grow little by little, right? There was some momentum, right? Because there was some new data created. There were some, things that started happening within because of the internet. The way we started capturing data, more and more data started being captured and being used, and databases being used. So we saw that shift towards having multiple node databases. More, single node databases were like, okay, well, we need one database, but that's not enough. Our data is growing. So at that point, the mindset was definitely, yes, increase the size of database, right? Or, oh, you have, we have multiple locations of the company. Yes, have these database connected, have multiple nodes of these database at different locations, right? So it was the same on-premises databases that grew. Say a single node became multiple node. There used to be distributed SQL. That's what I'm talking about, where you would have a distributed, means multiple node RDBMSs that would be, like Teradata, that would be installed and used by the companies. And then, then came the 2000s, right? The late 1990s and the 2000s, which brought in business intelligence and data analytics, all kind of came into play, and lots of data started to get generated. We started using cell phones. So you saw all these different types of, now that we were started to collect all different types of data, that we started getting into Hadoop, right? Hadoop showed us how to kind of have data that could be stored in commodity hardware, right? And not use some very heavy duty databases or increasing databases. We could just cut the cost down and save different types of data and different nodes and in across and distributed systems, right? So Hadoop showed us that. We got distributed SQL databases that kind of started growing. We saw many other databases that came into play, NeoData, NeoDB, and Clustrix, and MPP is a waste of databases. We saw the oracles and all those kind of other databases that were really growing and coming up with multiple features that would start supporting larger size of data and their transactions, and it started to work on their the latency and the throughput and all that kind of came into play a lot. We also had NoSQL kind of databases that suddenly said, okay, we are now started to work with pictures and videos and audio files. Well, we need all that. So you see that the 2000s, brought in this plethora of databases, different types of databases, and each of these types had its own, multiples, manufacturers or databases kind of coming into play. So what was really kind of coming out of, like while we are currently into this century, we saw the emergence of NoSQL database. We saw the emergence of distributed SQL, where multiple node RDBMSs that you'd call and the Hadoop, right? The Hadoop has also different types of implementation, but Hadoop was the main framework, the open source, kind of a framework that Hadoop came up with. So all the emergence of this databases. So as you can see here, how there was a database evolved slowly in the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s. There were almost like 4 decades and not much, but the last 2 decades, especially, has been, you see that, the different, how this whole thing has grown up and grown into, like, seeing how all these different types of databases. So all you have to know is, what do you really want, right? So, and that's what is going to take us into this particular question, this slide. So how do you select a database, right? There's so many. And what you just saw on this past couple of slides was just looking at a few samples, right? Or based on different types and how the evolution is. But if you really go out and do do like just a little Google search or type the number of databases today, hundreds. There are hundreds of databases that you can select, and you'd be like, wow, how do I do this? You went through and read a lot of material on NoSQL databases, distributed databases, Hadoop. You kind of saw that, and I don't know, at this point in time, you may be all like, wow, there's a database for everything that I can think of. But at the same time, you could also be confused. Should I go with Oracle, or should I go with MySQL, or is it Redshift in AWS? Or Azure SQL is the better one, or a MongoDB or Cassandra? Which database do I use, right? So yeah, that's a huge question, and there may not be a direct answer to that. We may not have a direct answer saying, okay, go with this database, right? It depends. It depends on a lot of criteria you'll have to go through to kind of zero in to a small set of databases, or to a database, right? To a single database. So let's quickly go through those different criteria that will kind of come into play. First and foremost, right? For any organization or an individual, the first is, what is your budget, right? What do you really want to buy, and how much can you really buy? Can you buy a Mercedes, or can you want to buy just a 2-door, or can just buy a 2-wheeler, right? I'm just kidding. But what I'm saying is, even in the database, right? You really want to know what you can buy and what's your budget. Every organization, no matter how small or large it is, it has, a set budget for, for it IT or whatever it needs to, for its infrastructure, or how much capital budget does it have for doing these things, or adding, something like a database in their organization, or databases in their organization. So first and foremost is the budget, right? Secondly, what type of data will reside in your database? That's important. Like, what types of data? Is it just a plain structured data, or is it going to be unstructured data? Is it going to be, documents, or, audio files and images? What kind of data is going to reside in your database? That's another criteria. Next, what is going to be your user base, right? How many users? Are you talking about only 2 people using it versus 200 or 2000? What is going to be your user base? And that's another very important criteria, because there could be certain databases that are not heavy duty databases that, you could just use it for a very, like for a very small user base, but it may not be scalable to be used by multiple or users. So that's a big criteria right there. The next is, how frequently do you need to update the database schema or refresh the data, right? And this is important because it will kind of tell you, like, how maintenance wise, how is this database, like, what is going to be my downtime? Would I be okay with the downtime, right? How many times do I need to update? Is it easy to update the data or database that is already in play, in production, right? How many times do I refresh it? Does it support the refreshed techniques? And that will be, they need to kind of come into play here for the data on hand, or data within the database, right? Next is, will you need to access your database 24/7, right? Just, very similar to the previous question, whether how many times you need to update or refresh the data, whether, this is also an important question. If you just answer this question 24/7, you have to really pay a lot of attention to what the maintenance is going to look like when you, or what the, techniques are to be employed, or to be, or what techniques to be adopted for refreshing your data, or, or the, for the downtime, for the maintenance of the data, for the refresh of the data. And if the database is to be 24/7, does it really support that, right? Do you need your database to be highly scalable? If it is today, I can start with, a small version of this data or size of this data. Can I just grow this data, right? If my data grows, can I simply just add disks to it, or just, increase the size of this database easily, right? How scalable could this database be? What kind of throughput and latency do I need from this database? Would it support that? Throughput is like how many transactions per minute, and latency is how much time each transaction takes, right? So very similar, but 2 different things. Latency is the time taken to complete a transaction, and throughput is the number of transactions you can have in a unit of time, whether it's seconds or minutes or whatever. But the what you have in mind, would your database support it, right? The next is, what systems and tools does your database need to integrate with? Very important. Yes, you can buy any databases, you'll buy something out there, but then you'll find it's incompatible with the, the systems that you already have in play. Maybe, you have systems and resources also which may not be able to work with this database. You don't have that expertise in-house. Maybe you want to write Java API and Python APIs to, fetch data from this database, and maybe it's not even supporting that, right? So what's the use of getting such a database that you really cannot manage or maintain in-house, or even use it in-house, because of the other tools that you've already invested in, including the resources? Is your database going to be on-premise, right? Is it going to be shared with other departments, or it's going to be on the premise itself? And that's going to be an important question. Does your database need to be located and accessed worldwide, right? Geographically, nationwide or worldwide? Is that a criteria? Can this database be on the cloud? Are you planning to be on the cloud directly without even thinking about on-premise or worldwide? You just want to be on the cloud? Well, there could be other set of databases, right? So each criteria, when you go through, or a small set of criteria that you go through, it's going to start eliminating certain types of databases or certain databases right there, right? So each of these questions and criteria are going to be really important to kind of narrow down your list. And then the last one criteria, and not the last one, but one criteria that I always say, and I love this statement: are you boiling the ocean, right? You may just need something, a data to kind of have the data simply reside in files or just somewhere on computer. Just, you want to save some documents. You want to save a small set of data. There are 30,000 records or 30,000 rows that could go in an Excel file. Today's Excel files can grow larger than multiple thousands of rows, right? You could have multiple columns, multiple records in an Excel file. You can just do with an Excel file if you need to. Once again, of course, if your user base is more and all that, that's a different story. But all I'm saying is, think about it. Sometimes you don't need to go with and buy a Mercedes. You can simply have a small little car that is good enough for you. A two-door could be just good enough for you. Then buy that, right? Why buy Mercedes? Why buy, something else? So that's again a question, a criteria to keep in mind, that buy what you can, what you really need, and not just buy for the sake because of your buying power. The next is kind of, before I do that, any questions on, before I go to this, any questions on any of these criterias? Okay.
Not for me.
Okay, thank you. Next is the technical, criteria, right? Whether you want your asset properties are very important for you. Let's say you are in a financial institution where asset is very important. What does asset mean here? Once again, atomic, consistency, isolation, and durability. Atomic, well, if there's you want a transaction to be either completed in full or not at all, right? Let's say if you're transferring money from one account to another, you want the credit from one account and debit to another account both happen, right, completely. It cannot just be at the halfway through, right? It cannot be successful by just crediting from one account. It has to go through the entire transaction. So atomic transactions may be important for you. Consistency, right? That your data, your updates to a particular record in one place is consistent on other places, right? Let's say, let me give an example, right? A customer information, and you may have multiple departments within your organization. So if a customer name, address, or whatever, his name is changed in one place, that is reflected in all these areas. It is consistent across the board. If this ID, if the customer is deleted from one place, it is consistently deleted from across the board and across all the different organizations that you that may be using this data, right? Or if a student ID, same thing. If a student ID is added or removed, then, or there's going to be only one student ID across the entire university. Think about it. Let's say if you have a student ID and you're kind of having and sharing with someone else, see the issue that you can get into. See all those things, issues that you can get into. So it's important there's only a unique ID. If two people are creating student IDs, then they would be creating unique student IDs. Very important, consistency, right? That every time you are going to create a new student ID, and if you are going to delete student ID from one place, it gets deleted from all the places in all the tables within the database, right? For all the departments. Isolation, all your transactions that you are it was going through within your system is going to be unique transactions that are going to be standing on its own. and not dependent on each other, right? So if you have 1,000 transactions going, each of them finishing on their own. If they're going to be dependent, you don't want them to be dependent on other transactions. You don't want to get into any race condition that if this finishes, then this finishes and this finishes. No, you want an isolate. So you want that your database to support isolation. You want your database to support durability, right? That if you have already changed the state of your data, and for whatever reason, if there's a failure after that, that particular state is going to be retained, whatever the last state it had. Or even if you want to retain the previous states of your data, right, of your transactions of your data, that whatever updates that you did, right? After a student came into this university, it may have gone through a lot of updates. Maybe there's a change in name, change in address. All of that is stored as to what transactions went through and all those little updates that happened, right? And or at least the final update is available. Even if the system goes down, when it is brought up again, you will have the latest state of the data. So if you want your database to support ACID properties, you may probably have to go for RDBMS systems, right? Type systems that are very strongly supportive of ACID properties, most of them. So once again, distributed system may not be able to support ACID property. They're not too good at that. I'm not saying all of them. They are to an extent. Some of them have started to, or they support ACID properties, but to an extent. They're not as good as RDBMSs that support the ACID properties. Then if you have distributed systems, right? Maybe you want to think about, there could be criteria like basically available. Are you okay with having the data, like when it is, when you're talking about distributed systems, you're having your systems across different regions, geographic locations, maybe nationwide, maybe worldwide, maybe multiple nodes across the region, whatever that is. But your data, and the main thing is that it's you are not set on the criteria of immediate consistency, right? You may not have a consistency that's going to be immediate, like anything that when your data changes, the changes is going, it's like a ripple effect. It's going to go and travel across all the different nodes of that distributed database. But at any point, it may not be immediate, right? There may be some time in between when your data is not going to be that consistent, like one node is not going to be consistent with another node. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with the soft state of data? Once again, it's very similar. If your data is not going to be consistent, its state is also not going to be the same. Like, when it travels through the different nodes, then it is definitely going to complete it, but the different nodes may have different state for a data. And if you do not want that to happen, right? I'm not saying this happens with every distributed system. Well, not really. But then the onus lies on the developers of the application that you're building using this database, that it develops or it programs in a way that, okay, only when the data has traversed through all the nodes, that the changes have been replicated in all the nodes, only then it's going to be made available for someone who is going to be looking for or searching this data. So if a customer information is changed on this node A, until it has gone through all the nodes, it will not be available, right? For that period of time, maybe that data is not available, but as soon as all the updates are complete, yes, it is going to be made available. So it depends, like, you can program it in multiple different ways, but I'm just telling you, you either be okay with this soft state or you'll have to program on this, whether if you want a strict consistency. And when you say consistency, right, it is what we mean by that is it's distributed database systems. Yes, there's going to be consistency with data, but it's going to be an eventually it will be consistent, right? It will take time to traverse through. And when we are talking about taking time, we are not talking about, lots of long hours. We are talking about maybe fraction of minutes, fraction of, all the time. Maybe not fraction of seconds, but maybe minutes, right? Or maybe a few minutes of time, like which is if it is geographically located, but across regions, it may not be even, a minute or a fraction of a minute, but it will be eventually consistent. So are you okay with that, right? Is this like, if you have a distributed system, then is this the criteria that you're going to be adopting? And then, based on what's going to be important for you, if it is consistency, so there are three, this is the CAP theorem that you probably may have read and gone through it and remember it. There are three different, the C means consistency, A means availability, and P means partition tolerant, right? Or intolerance. So consistency is about, we talked about consistency, right? What data consistency means. Availability of data, right? Anytime that you need the data, it's going to be available, right? In a consistent form. Partition tolerant, if a partition there's a partition failure, your data is still going to be available in the other nodes, right? And you're going to be okay with that. So if consistency and availability is going to be important, then for that, you can have only two of the three, by the way. It is not possible for any database to have all these three together, right? And one of the reasons why you have to pick two, and for each of these combination, there are databases available. There's some examples given here. For example, if consistency and availability is so important, which is close to, thinking about ACID properties, then you're thinking about RDBMSs like Oracle, your SQL Server, MySQL, right? You better, think about going towards RDBMS. If availability and partition tolerance is important to you, that, it's going to be available, it's going to be partition tolerant, then you want to go with databases like Cassandra, like CouchDB, right? If for you consistency and partition tolerance important, then maybe there are databases like you want to go with MongoDB or HBase or Bigtable or Redis, right? So all this criteria, and I'm once again not saying this is the only 15 criteria, but I'm just saying if you've gone through this set of 15, you've given a lot of thought to what type of database you want. Maybe there's many more that criteria that you can add in here, by the way, but I'm just saying this is the basic minimum set that you may want to go through and give a good thought to what type of database you'd want. And hopefully this will narrow down your search, your selection of the database. Any questions on any of these criteria that we went through? Okay.
No question.
Alrighty. So just wanted to just quickly go over the top 10 databases. I think this was from a survey that was done by the Data Wrapper. And you can see on the website here, I've given the source. They went through and did some survey with the organizations. And what they came up with, the top 10 databases, is what you would see in, like, if you Google this, you'll see many organizations doing some kind of a survey or finding, what their top 10 databases were, and you'll find a very similar list. And I think in most of this list, you'll find that Oracle, MySQL, PostgreSQL, they're almost like topping the list there. So what you see here was very close to many other organizations or agencies that have done some surveys or put up their top 10 databases. So it's pretty much, it takes into account all the popular databases that you can think about, right? Like Oracle, MySQL, SQL Server, PostgreSQL, MongoDB, Redis, IBM DB2, Elasticsearch, Microsoft Access, and SQLite. Even Microsoft Access has been one of the top 10 databases in 2022. Then there was this another survey, which was on, I believe this was, which was the Stack Overflow, I believe. Yes, the Stack Overflow developer survey. And as you can see here, a very similar list here, but these were like databases for, basically developing web apps or supporting web apps. And you can see a very similar list here: MySQL, PostgreSQL, SQL Server, MongoDB, MainDB, Oracle. So very similar list here, right? There are some additions here, but these are all another set of popular databases, and it just gives you the percentages is based on the people that they surveyed and who thought MySQL was the most. They found out that it was the most popular, as people marked it as the #1 database that they think for developing or being behind web applications. Okay. So then there are many databases on the AWS cloud, the AWS now that you'll be using. There are multiple databases out there that you can really take advantage of, and they're of different kinds. If you see here, if you want a relational database, there's RDS. If you're looking for a data lake, which you'll be using for your assignment 2, there's AWS S3, there's AWS Lake Formation. If you're looking for a data warehouse kind of an database, then there's Amazon Redshift. If you're looking for a NoSQL, like it's a DynamoDB, like a key value pair, maybe a DynamoDB. If you're looking for a graph database, there's Amazon Neptune. If you're looking for an in-memory data store or in-memory database, which I believe would be like key value pair. This is document. So yeah, the third type, NoSQL, and key value pair. This is graph database, and these are in-memory data stores that you also have, like for Elastic Cache, you have a memory DB, and then you have a document database as well. Okay, so that was the fourth type, was the in-memory data stores and the databases. The 4 different types of NoSQL databases, right? So that's what I was kind of referring to. But okay, so some food for thought before we we'll move on to the other topic of the day. So how would you take your learning about big data management forward, right? What is your plan to practice the knowledge and skills you have learned during this week? Have you researched areas to find big data sets and AWS databases for practicing your skills, right? So start thinking along those lines and see how you're going to take this forward, right? You kind of you just scratched the surface with what you've done, what you've read, what you've gained during the last week and a half. There's much more, right? And yeah, but still, I think let's take one step at a time. You've taken a one large, huge, big step last week by understanding all these different data types for big data. You'll be getting into an assignment on and using AWS, building a kind of a data lake and using a data lake. So I think you'll be taking a one huge step, but don't just stop there. There are lots of things that you can, lots of other types of databases that you can work with. Okay. So before I leave this topic and move on to talking about assignment 2, any questions? Are we good? You're still tracking with me, guys? Still with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for the confirmation. All right. So what's assignment 2, right? Assignment 2, it's due next Tuesday. It's about data exploration using AWS S3 Glue and Athena. The unique thing about this assignment is, and you will see this being played out in the other assignments as well, which is that you will have to complete a quiz, right? After the assignment is completed, you will be you'll be submitting a quiz as well in support of your assignment, without which your assignment will not be marked completed. So please remember this, right? You need to complete the quiz associated with this assignment and submit this document, the assignment document, where you need to capture your answers and screenshots. And that's a very important step. If you have captured your responses and screenshots correctly, the quiz is just going to be based on that. Trust me, you're not going to be tested for, there's no memory test. There's nothing that could be asked that you'll not be able to produce in this quiz or respond in this quiz. It's everything about what you've done there, what you've captured as responses. It's what's going to be on the quiz. So there's no secret about it. And you got exactly what is going to be there. So now make sure you are going to do what is required here, and you will not have any issues with the quiz. Okay. So the purpose of this assignment is to prepare you to load data into AWS S3 and use it as one of the most popular big data storage solutions, such as Data Lake, and then make use of other AWS services such as Glue and Athena to apply structure to the data loaded in the data lake and explore and analyze it using Athena. So simply put, let me show it through via a picture here. So what you basically have, you're given 3 CSV files, which has the data in it. You're all going to load these files, our data, into this data lake, which you'll be creating S3, and you'll be using Amazon S3 bucket. You'll be creating this S3 bucket, and you'll be dumping data into this bucket. Once you've done that, you would then run the Glue crawler. You'll run the crawler, crawler. Sorry about that. This was a little tongue twister, or I made it as a tongue twister. So you run this crawler to get the structure of the data, right? So you are applying schema as if you really don't know what's in there, but based on what is in these files, you are creating schema automatically, and that is being fed to AWS Glue, right? Glue is kind of saying, okay, you got the crawler is giving you the schema information. It's then going to be captured by AWS Glue. And then using Amazon Athena, you can, and go analyze and explore this data by running different queries. So that's what this assignment is all about. And if you do this step by step, as far as what is in the assignment, trust me, it won't take more than a few minutes of your time, right? Or if you want to do it multiple times, go for it. But start now, right? Because if you guys stumble, then you want enough time to kind of get back on, or if you find any issues with the lab or whatever it is, this is your first lab. So please do not wait until Tuesday evening, right, for this assignment. Absolutely not, because you will not know what issue you may get into, or if you need Yelena's help on those issues, then you need to get through this more faster, right, or start early. So the prerequisites, you have to ensure that you've completed and establishing your student account in AWS Academy. Mandatory that you make use of the AWS Academy Learner Lab that is built for this course. That's the only place you can do this lab, and you should be doing this lab. And it is strongly, strongly recommended that you complete all the reading material and videos on big data management and storage, data lakes, and AWS services such as S3, Glue, and Athena. I know there's a lot of material, but you should have gone through this. If not, make sure you go through this. It's very important, right? That's what's going to really complete your learning and understanding of the data storage systems and AWS services as such. So there are multiple sections or steps that are involved in this assignment. So, and if you have to run this, few steps at a time, you're taking a lot of time, you want to come back to this, you don't have enough time left in your day, that's fine, right? Just come back, whenever you get a chance again, but you'll have to run it from the top again. So it's better that, if you start with few steps, you took 5 steps, okay, but clean up all those steps overnight. Let's say you're going to come back to this tomorrow, or maybe you want to come back to this on Saturday. Just clean up those steps. Trust me, the 5 steps that you've taken today, it will be easier when you take it again tomorrow or Saturday, right? So do that, right? And you'll have to just go through all the sections, complete it one by one, and then complete your document. Ensure that your document is complete. You're taking all the responses, you captured the screenshots, and you've done that. Go and complete the quiz, and you'll be done, right? Trust me, nobody has really needed a lot of time, although a lot of time has been given to you this week. We don't have a lot of reading material for you this week, so take advantage of that. Take advantage of this lab. Try to go through this few times if you can. and see if you can master it so well that you can just quickly go in and out and get through this in a few minutes time. Okay. And it's doable. Trust me, it's doable. So basically the goal is that you've been given data with 350,000 applications, 1.7 million bureau credit pools, and 27 million bureau balance updates. That has been provided by Home Credit, which is to explore and analyze further by primarily using data lake to save the data and Athena to analyze and enrich the data set. So the Home Credit can provide loans to the top 50 or 100 applications that have a long credit history, but not past due credit by more than 30 days of more than $10,000. So you are going to be the one who's going to act as an analyst, who's going to be acting as a decision maker for the Home Credit Association, and you're the bank, and you'll be making decisions on who can get this private 50 to 100 provide loans to 50 to 100 applications that have a long credit history, but it does not have a past due credit history that is more than 30 days, like you have been defaulted by more than 30 days of paying $10,000. Okay. So finally, some do's and don'ts. Clean up all AWS services that are used for assignment 2, very important step. Otherwise, you'll see the charges getting increased and you'll run out of all the free credits that you've got. So please clean up all the services, and the document, the assignment document says it all, shows you and tells you how you can just clean up all your AWS services. So please do that. Secondly, remember, the lab can be, it can only go on continuously for 4 hours only. If you're nearing to 4 hours, just exit out, come back in, exit out, end the lab, start the lab, the timer starts again. You'll get your 4 hours, another 4 hours of the lab. But very important that you know that this is only available for 4 hours, and you may start seeing some errors that you'll find like what's happening here, and you'll be out of luck. So that's why I'm saying if it is close to 4 hours, start exiting out or exit out and come back in. Okay. And importantly, assignment 2 is not complete until the assignment quiz is attempted and completed, and capture screenshots and record your responses once again. Okay. So based on that, your rubric has it all, and I don't want to kind of take you through all this again, but you know that every section of that assignment has a good amount of points there, and you want to grab all these points. Plus, quiz has got the maximum points, because based on your responses, you're going to plug all these answers in your quiz, which is going to be the one that is going to tell you whether you've completed and or attempted this assignment successfully. Okay, so went through a lot of information on assignment 2. I just wanted to make sure that we are still okay with the time, which I believe we are at this point. It's exactly an 8:30 here, but still open for any questions, right? So any questions on assignment 2? Did I go too fast?
No, I
No.
don't think so.
Okay. So any questions in general? No? Okay. So anyone here who would be interested with discussion on ChatGPT for another 20 minutes or so? Once again, no pressure. I'm just asking, just to make
No,
sure.
not me.
Okay, Akui is no. Tori, Erin?
I would be interested in it, but I don't want to keep you. I mean, if it's just me,
No, I'm
then
going to still do it.
okay.
If you guys all hang up, I'll probably just do a little short video on it for next 15-20 minutes, and still put it up on our classroom. So I will still do that. So if you were like, you can still be around and we can make this little interactive.
Okay, yeah, if you're going to do it anyway, because I'm sure I'll have questions. So.
Yes, sure, Tori. So, yep. Erin, how about you?
I'll stick around and listen.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Yelena, please feel free to drop if you have to go, because I'm just going to take another 15, 20 minutes to go over Chat GPT. That's the discussion that some of us, wanted to have today.
That's fine. I'm gonna listen.
Okay, excellent. So I'm going to just change my deck, guys. So I'm going to stop sharing this and going to share another deck. So just give me a second, okay? Okay. Okay, I'm almost there. Okay, are you guys all able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. All right, so how many of you have heard about ChatGPT? Tori, Kui, or Erin? Everyone has heard
Yes,
about
I've heard of it.
ChatGPT? Okay, looks like it's been one of those things that has caught everybody's attention, and after the longest time, there's a lot of buzz. So if you are someone like me, who's been using Yahoo and Yahoo Business Insider especially, you'd see all these all these like just little news snippet that you would kind of see, and you can of course get into more details, but there have been like news about like Gmail creator wants Google is only a year or two away from total disruption because of AI like ChatGPT. People are talking about that it got, ChatGPT was also able to hypothetically get hired as an entry-level coder when it was interviewed, if it was interviewed at Google. That's how precise it was in answering. That's how crazy this thing has come out. And it has taken almost like everybody in technology by storm, right? To an extent that I've heard that even people who are non-IT or non-technology based, they've kind of heard about ChatGPT and they're using it day in and day out. It has been around for 2 months and it is causing untold chaos, like lots of chaos, to a point where it broke the servers were not available. It was at a point when I think it was in early January or late December when you could not get onto ChatGPT anytime you wanted, which was possible earlier December. But that's how crazily it was being used, and it just crashed their servers. They had to add in a lot more infrastructure to get it up and running again. And Amazon has already allowed its employees to use ChatGPT for software coding. So all this kind of information that's been floating around, and you can also hear about Microsoft. It's okay with employees using ChatGPT, but not to share any sensitive information, which is true. And people have used it in so many different ways, and we'll talk about it. But my point is that, all these different news articles, which you may have read, and they're one of the reasons why you would have gone on and tried ChatGPT, which is, but what really caught my attention, to be honest with you, was the fact that, yes, we were all so much thinking about ChatGPT, and we think that it's the tool, it's a game changer, it's disruptive, all that. But I think this has been around for a while. I mean, there was something that was going on for a while, which is the generative AI, right? And there were so many now, not just ChatGPT, but so many generative AI products that are coming out in the market, or that is already there, either using GPT type models or GPT models themselves, or having their own version of those kind of different models, which is doing so. Generative AI, that's what is disrupting. It's not, Chat GPT is one of the products of, or one of the type of generative AI which is causing the boom, but there are many other products like that, which is why they're saying San Francisco is once again becoming that Silicon Valley, that kind of a hub again, which a lot of people had started to move out. They're kind of moving back in because of all that generative AI startups that have started to flourish. The all that buzz about generative AI, all the, you may have started to hear about the different websites where you can go in and create pictures or create designs, create videos, create you can even generate like a summary of a paper that you may have and you want to just get a summary. All the, what's all that? That's generative AI, and a lot of that is based on generative AI. So sorry, let me correct myself, but a lot of based on generative AI behind it. That is all kind of coming out here. So that's the buzz. But of course, the main buzz today is OpenAI's Chat GPT. So what is Chat GPT? It's nothing. It's a machine learning model which is used for processing natural language, used for natural language processing, right? And it does it so well because it has spent a lot of time kind of building that what do you call it, infrastructure, building the background, the back end data, right? They have spent so much time in fine tuning their natural language processing abilities, that you can do a lot of tasks such as language translation or summarization or chatbot conversations, right? So, and I'm sure you must have done all different types of conversations with it. And I know some of you already did that. But yeah, it kind of mimics a robot or a chatbot, right? It is that, and it can understand questions now in different languages too. And I think the paid version could have some more abilities now that they're coming up with a paid version, that, a subscription version. Thereby, I believe they would have a lot more support for different types of languages. So, this is so this is the website, the OpenAI. This is the company that has really come out with this. This company is once again, it's a research laboratory which is based in San Francisco, California, and it has been around from 2015. The founders of this OpenAI, they were motivated by the fact that they wanted to do something in advanced AI that's going to be beneficial, that's going to really help humanity as a whole. And so they kind of started to work towards that. They got a lot of funding and attraction from a lot of bigwigs, right? From Elon Musk to Microsoft to many companies, many huge financing companies and individuals they got support and help from, right? And that's why this OpenAI was born. And you can see its benefits, right? You've already, I don't need to kind of go through this a lot, but the benefits is that, you can generate, it helps users generate large amounts of high quality content, right? You can do a lot, and I'll have some examples that I want to go through quickly. I want to be mindful of our time here also. So I'm going to just run through this, but I'll share these slides, by the way, and you can, look through this and read it. But in short, Chat GPT is something that can, it's like a chatbot or virtual assistant application. It can generate responses in a conversation kind of a form. It can generate responses for social media and messaging. It can generate responses for customer service or support chat applications. It can generate responses for an e-commerce communication. So there's lots and lots of use of this, and its potential is immense. It's huge. I've been on it for many days now, almost like, a couple of months, right from the time I remember early December, when I started to dig into this little more. I haven't given this slides are, by the way, I had to steal these slides from my own presentation I gave on Chat GPT and one of the data science meetup that I organized last month in December. So yeah, from that point on, and I still think that I haven't used it as much. I haven't scratched the surface, because there are people who are talking about, how they've used this for different coding. They've got JavaScript code. I think the biggest gains are the people who are in the software programming world. And this is the screen, by the way. That is as simple as what a Google screen is. This is a simple screen, and what you see at the bottom of this screen here is actually the little box that you see there. It's a little faint gray. That's the box where you would enter any kind of a prompt. You could give any prompt that you want. And I'll show you an example of a prompt, right? You could say, or you could use an OpenAI, by the way. So besides that, that chat, that you can type in a question, you can also use it programmatically, right? So just giving an example here. But like if you're giving a prompt, you could say, write a JavaScript code to validate a data of date filled in the MMDDY format on an HTML page. Boom. This is the only prompt you gave on the chat GPT, and it will give you this. What you see at the bottom here is the code. It has generated this sample code for you, along with showing you how you should be using this code. How cool is that, right? You just gave one statement to write a JavaScript code, and it wrote the entire code for you. Same thing, if you ask it to write a plot, to create a plot like an R program to create a GG plot for Tesla stocks performance over last 5 years, just randomly just gave this prompt. And these are true prompts. By the way, these slides that you're seeing are generated by ChatGPT itself. So by using ChatGPT, I've created these slides for you here. And that's how cool it is, right? All these is what you see on the top is where I kind of give the question and how it is listing the answers beneath it. So here you see it has written the entire code, an entire R program to use a GG plot, to use the GG plot package to plot the performance of Tesla stocks, right? And you can run this. This code certainly works. There's another code, and so very similar to an R code, there's a Python code that you can generate. So it's huge. People have used it to even convert their R program into a Python program. And I've not tried that myself, but I do want to. As I said, and as I keep saying, I have not even scratched the surface, the way it can be used. And I just kind of gave one of the prompts. I said, write 5 hooks relating to a data science meetup group. I just wanted to say, okay, what does it give? Like, okay, I organize a meetup group. So I said, okay, give me a good quote for that. It just gave me a quick 5 quotes. I then said, I tried to get into a conversation. Look at my second prompt there. Make it more eye-catching and punchier. As if I'm talking to a bot, it gave me a response, and I'm telling it, fine-tune that response, make it a little more eye-catching. And it just did that in a few seconds. How cool is that, right? So not really got into it. It has taken Google search to a next level. It has taken the AI to the next level, right? And so that's what I wanted to kind of show it to you. And like, look at this one here. I said, okay, write an essay on best childhood memory. Just pay attention to that essay, which is misspelled as easy, right? But it kind of sensed that there was a typo, there was a mistake made, but what I meant was an essay. And look at that, it wrote a small essay for me, right? So that's what it does. Would Google or any other tool or product would do it? I don't know. Maybe they would. Maybe they will point out. Maybe they would say, "Do you really mean this?" I know Google comes up and said, "Did you mean this?" Right? In this case, it says, "I know what you want. I know that you meant essay," right? And it gave you that information. Then you can ask for, give me some top 5 questions in an interview and its possible answers for a data scientist position. It gave me a question and answer. And I could come here and ask for many more questions. I just wanted to get a quick sample here. That's why you see a sample. I asked ChatGPT to write a movie script for a thriller story. Once again, no context, nothing. And it came back and gave me like a nice little movie story, like a nice script. If I don't know how movie scripts are, well, here I get a movie script written nicely. And maybe it is going to be shorter than usual, but all I'm saying is that you can just make it a little more comprehensive by asking the questions in the right format. And I have kind of, at the end of this presentation, I have a nice there's a nice link, a nice PDF that someone has put up, like nice prompts for ChatGPT, like a 50 best prompts for ChatGPT, and it gives you different ways that you can put up some very comprehensive prompts for ChatGPT so that it gives you a very good answer, right? And a really more comprehensive answer. So, and here you go. Like I used it as more like I use it as an interviewer. I gave it, like, as you can see here on the top, I wanted ChatGPT to act as an interviewer and ask me all the interview questions for the machine learning engineer position. And I gave it some more information in that prompt, and it started off like, as soon as I give that prompt, it started off, okay, can you tell me a little bit about your background and how you became interested in machine learning, right? So this question I put up, I started to put up some fake answers, real fake. I started with even putting in XXX, AAA, SSDD, FFGG, what. It came back and said, it does not make sense. Give me a good answer. Then it asked me a question about a machine learning algorithm, and I just put in some garbage in there. And it says, no, this is not right. Then I made it a little more intelligent, but I gave an information about another algorithm. It corrected me and said, well, I asked you about A and you're giving me B. How cool is that, right? I mean, it is doing a lot. It mimics a robot. It mimics a human being in front of you in many ways, right? So yes, I mean, this technology is excellent. And yes, it is a lot. If you haven't really gone in and really tried it out, I say give it a shot, right? It's there to stay, guys. I'm telling you. And this is not about ChatGPT can evolve into different product or whatever it can evolve into, but generative AI is what you will see more and more to come in the months to come, in the years to come. You will hear a lot about generative AI. And there's already a plethora of websites, plethora of systems that are out there that has started to do this. There are multiple startups that have come up for generative AI products, right? And I mentioned it to you, right? There's all those tools that are generating designs for you, generating movies and pictures for you and videos for you. It's beautiful. It's I think we still scratch the surface and there's more to come. But then there's a lot of reaction also to this. Like, what is if this is used in a way that we don't want it to be used? Like, for example, the school children who can just say, well, I'm tired, I don't want to write an essay. Tomorrow I have an assignment, I have an essay due tomorrow. I'm just going to let ChatGPT do it, right? And maybe some students would have taken advantage of that, whatever. But what did New York schools do? They were the first school district and the public school system that went on and it banned ChatGPT. Well, was this a reaction right? Well, some of us could say, well, yes, yeah, that's you should ban. But then, think about it, right? If we would have banned all those technologies that have come out and disrupted the way of life, disrupted the way we did things in life, or the way we used our products and things, then a lot of those things would not have been there for the life that we're having right now. Even if internet, somebody would have thought about it, then we would have not seen this world today, right? So I don't know. I mean, I thought there were other ways to managed this and the way we have managed the previous technologies. And one of the things that's why I want to kind of give it to you is there's a nice tool that was written by a Princeton research student called GPT-0. And what does it do? You can copy the snapshots, like copy the answers that you get from ChatGPT. You just plug it in here, and it tells you how likely this has been machine generated. So cool. It is like the Turnitin, right? Your Turnitin currently, you put it all your, many of the school systems and universities use Turnitin to see how much of your, content is, copy pasted or not cited well, whatever. This is a tool. And I love this. I said, wow, this is what we really want, right? And you know what? Taking a cue of from this one, OpenAI themselves came up with a way to test. So they've not just given you a ChatGPT tool. They're saying if somebody you think should be tested for whether they use ChatGPT to create the content, well, we are giving out a tool, a program called AI Text Classifier that is going to help you to do that. And that's I think this is how you want to really deal with the technology. And something just at the very end, I just want to share my personal experience, and then I'll give you the link to the chat prompting that I was talking about, the Chat GPT prompts. But if you think about it, right, I was a student for most part, or all entire 80s, 1980s decade, right, as a high school student, college student. We went from using logbooks to scientific calculators. In school, when I started school, when I was in school, early 80s, we were used to use logbooks for any kind of, you'd maybe some of you would ask, what's logbook? But yes, there were no scientific calculators. We were used to hand out those logbooks to do all our calculations. We went to scientific calculators. Did that make me a bad student, or did I not able to handle that? Well, we were able to handle it. The teachers were able to handle it. We were given more problems then, because now we are not using logbook anymore. We were getting some ready-made answers. So our problems become harder. A number of problems become larger. Then early to mid 90s, there was an internet boom. I was I was involved in software career that time. I was in the workforce. Did I just, because of internet, I lost my job? I wouldn't say that. My job evolved, my career evolved, but I did not lose the job, and I was lucky. But I had to evolve, all right? I had to evolve. I had to upgrade my skills. Same thing happened in 1990s, right? There was a wireless boom in mid to late 1990s. And I was having a job, and I still have a job with the telecom, in a telecom company. And a lot of the wired business was becoming wireless. What happened? Of course, once again, my job evolved, my career evolved. I learned some new skills. Same thing with big data boom. Then there was a machine learning boom on big data analytics that came into play. We saw the advent of deep learning, and now we are seeing Chat GPT. But here, I'm still there, gone through and seen some of these technologies and some of these disruptive technologies come in and evolve and change our lives, change the way we do things at work and at home. And it hasn't really done much damage, to be honest with you. So I would say, let's embrace this new technology. And once again, I'm not being paid by OpenAI or ChatGPT in any way for this presentation. These are just my personal thoughts, just my 2 cents, okay? But yeah, so that's what I kind of wanted, and just want to open it up now, but I wanted to give you this link for ChatGPT prompting. It's part of this presentation. I will put it up in the classroom. But yeah, it's a beautiful PDF that has got multiple, I think at least 40 to 50 types of different prompts that you can have. I think that's how many there are, but they're a good number that you can take advantage of. Okay. So I hope this was helpful, but tell me your experience. Tori, I know you tried it. Erin, I don't know if you did, but what are your experience?
I haven't actually tried it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a little intimidated. It makes me a little nervous, to be honest. Just like the implications of it. And I
Trust
know
me,
that
as
we
long as-
can't,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I said as long as you're not going to input your credit card numbers and social security and other important information, you should be good. And you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No.
other than that, I think you should be good because it doesn't even ask you a lot of information for creating an account. Just starting from there. But yeah, do try it out, Tori, before this whole thing becomes paid subscription based model. It's free.
I heard. I think they're launching their
Yes.
their $20 monthly subscription.
That's right.
soon.
That's what even I heard it too. I haven't seen it. I was on the website couple of hours back and I still did not see it. So hopefully it should be coming out any day. So take advantage and until this free version lasts.
Yep, you're right.
Okay. Any thoughts, Yelena or Erin? You guys have any thoughts on ChatGPT? Anything that you'd like to share?
I haven't really tried it out much yet or looked into it, but I've heard seen stuff going around about it, but I haven't looked into it myself.
Okay. All right. Try it out. I hope, this last few minutes helped. You guys can try it out. I know I may have gone through things real quickly here in the interest of time and try to keep it as short as possible to be respectful of your time. But yeah, I think just look through the slides again, look through the prompts and try those prompts yourself, right? That could be a good starting point, right? Take the slide deck, just use the same prompts and then start with that. And then maybe it will grow on you, right? You'll start doing a little more and more and learn how this is all about. But oh my God, this is unbelievable. It gives you unbelievable content. And, I think this is just a starting. Okay. All right. Any questions? Okay. If not, we can call it a wrap, guys. So thank you so much for, being there and for some additional time here. I hope this was all helpful and, good luck with your assignment too. If any questions, please shoot me and Yelena an email. Also create the Salesforce tickets. That's very important. Create Salesforce tickets. And if needed to, I can put that link again. Okay. So take care. Good night, folks.
Thank you.
Again soon. Okay. Take care. Bye.
Good night.